Plans to name Navy ships after historic civil rights leaders were first announced in 2016. The USN Harvey Milk was christened in 2021. The naming of the Navy ship is just one of the many honors bestowed on the late San Francisco supervisor, and it's one of the more notable, given Harvey Milk's dishonorable discharge from the military and the military's history on LGBTQ rights. Our Wilson Walker caught up with the famed activist Cleve Jones for his thoughts on the ship and his old friend.
Yeah, when you've been portrayed by Sean Penn and had Navy ships named after you and subway stations, it's, the mythology gets a bit much for me at times, and I think it strengthens his legacy for people to know that he was an ordinary guy who rather poorly ran a sort of pathetic little store on this block,
There are countless names stitched into the history of the gay rights movement, but few of them are larger than that of Cleve Jones, a legend in his own right, and forever linked to the life and times of his close friend Harvey Milk.
He was, in many respects, an ordinary man. He was not a genius. He was not a saint. He had all sorts of challenges and failures and humiliations in his life, but he was a kind man, and I knew him quite well. And what I remember the most is just how funny he was, how much he cared about people, how much he cared about the neighborhood.
And now a Navy ship bearing Milk's name sits in San Francisco Bay. For Jones, it is an odd lens on how much has changed in 45 years.
Well, there's all sorts of irony around this. I mean, he's being honored by a military institution that gave him a dishonorable discharge for being gay.
It's also the first ship in the world named after someone who was dishonorably discharged.
Stuart Milk is Harvey's nephew in town for the ship's arrival and celebration in San Francisco. He personally opposes any move by the Navy to change his uncle's dishonorable record. He says that legacy should be remembered.
I think it sends a very important message that as a society we progress and we make mistakes and our institutions make mistakes. And so this ship is going to travel to many countries where it's currently illegal to be LGBTQ or societally unacceptable. And those people are given hope that here this ship named after someone who was forced to resign from the Navy, this ship is actually celebrating that community.
People often ask me, what would Harvey say about this or what would Harvey say about that? And I don't know, he's been dead a long time. And we live in a world, much of which I think would be unimaginable to Harvey.
Have to be there to open up for the dialogue, for the sensitivities of all people.
I have no doubt if Harvey was here today, he would celebrate the goals that have been achieved and the progress that's been made and the lives that have been saved. And he would be very, very worried and very cautious and want everybody to know that this could all be swept away in the blink of an eye. And that's not hyperbole, that's not rhetoric.
Ask anyone who was here in the 60s and 70s, they will tell you how much has changed since then in this country and in this neighborhood. But Milk's legacy is really a fixture here now. It defines the Castro and the monumental achievements of someone who was just a regular guy.
But who, nonetheless, had a huge impact. So I think that this is something we can all aspire to, that you don't have to be a movie star, you don't have to be some legendary, epic, mythological figure. You can just be an ordinary person and make the world a better place.